Welcome back to days 195 and 196 of our Bible in a Year reading plan. Of course, these days are our catch-up days, so if you've fallen behind on any of the readings, you didn't get a chance to watch any of the other videos, you can go back and catch up on them today. Today, we are going to do a brief reflection on what we've read so far this week from the book of Isaiah, and then we're going to look a little forward into what we're going to be reading next week. But all right, let's get into our reflection. So our reflection question from today says, Isaiah 6 describes Isaiah's vision and calling. How does Isaiah's response to God's holiness and his willingness to be sent challenge you to respond to God's call in your life? And so remember in Isaiah's vision, he's up in heaven and he sees the seraphim up there worshiping God. And God is, asking, who can we send? Who's going to go for us to send out the word of the Lord? And Isaiah says, I am a man of unclean lips. And the angel comes and purifies his lips with a hot coal from the altar. And so then when God asks who can go, Isaiah says, look here, I'll go, I'll be your messenger and be sent out to the people of Israel and the people of Judah. And so the last part of that question says, how does Isaiah's response to God's holiness and his willingness to be sent challenge you to respond to God's call on our life? And so everybody has a calling on their life for God. Some people have really big, great callings. They're going to go out and, witness to the masses, have large churches, all of these things. And some of us, our callings are to just be a good neighbor, to be a good husband, to be a good wife, to be a good mother and a father. Those, for some of us, we're going to have those quote unquote smaller callings, but even those smaller callings have great impact. But when God calls us to these things, we have to be like Isaiah and be willing to humble ourselves, because Isaiah realized that he was in the presence of a holy God. Even the angels didn't have their faces exposed to God. The passage in chapter 6 says that the angels were flying around and they had two wings to cover their face, two wings to cover their feet, and two wings to fly with. So they didn't even look upon God. And Isaiah is sitting here looking upon the Lord, and he says, God, I am a man of unclean lips. And so God purifies him. And when God gives us our calling, he needs to purify us. We need to be willing to be purified and to surrender before the Lord. And we also need to be willing to answer the call, because God can call you to something and you can continue to run from it. You don't have to accept the call of God on your life. I will tell you that it is better for you to accept the call that God has on your life than to run from it. But we need to be ready and willing to respond to the call that God has on our lives. If God sends out the call for someone to go do something, we should be like Isaiah, putting up our hands saying, Lord, send me, I'll go, because we have our faith and trust in God. And we know that whatever God calls us to do, that he's equipped us for it. And most importantly, because God called us to do it, that he's going to give us the strength to do it. So don't be afraid when God calls you. Just humble yourself and submit yourself to God. All right, let's look forward into next week. And next week, we are going to cover Isaiah chapters 22 through 46. And so we are going to cover some more of the prophecies that are written in Isaiah. We will read about, the day of the Lord, God's promise of redemption to his people. We're also going to read about some more of the prophecies of destruction of certain nations. We also, when we get into the latter part of the week, we'll also go back into 2 Kings and we'll read about King Hezekiah when the Assyrians came and threatened King Hezekiah and the people of Jerusalem and what happened with that. We'll also read about King Hezekiah when he got sick. And there is a beautiful, I don't know if it's a song or a poem that Hezekiah writes in that section about his sickness and what God did for him. And then we also see the scene where Hezekiah shows off all of his treasures and things in the palace to the Babylonian officials. And then Isaiah gives him a prophecy about what's going to happen because he did that. There are many more prophecies to come in the book of Isaiah. There are going to be more prophecies about the Messiah, more prophecies against different kingdoms, prophecies about the kingdom of Assyria and the kingdom of Babylon, prophecies about what's going to happen to the nation of Judah, and the great day of the Lord, which we know is the final judgment of the Lord on the earth. We'll see prophecies about that as well. So I look forward to reading these next couple of chapters and finishing out the rest of the book of Isaiah in the next few weeks. But all right, guys, that is the end of today's video. It was short, sweet, and to the point. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so that you can get the notification for day 197 of our Bible in a Year reading plan. All right, everyone, have a blessed day. Bye.